Wish, Chapter 15. The next day before Sunday school, I raced to the fellowship hall where the Garden of Blessings was up on the bulletin board. I searched the paper flowers until I found mine. The other kids had made a bunch of flowers because I guess they had a bunch of blessings. But I had only made one, and for my blessing I had written, I am healthy, because Audrey had written that on one of hers. I took my flower down, and with a purple crayon I added, I have a dog named Wishbone. When I got to Sunday school, I tried to tell kids about my new dog, but it seemed like nobody cared. They were busy calling out sins for Miss Mackey to write on a blackboard: cussing, bullying, lying, disobeying your parents. The sins were flying around that room like blackbirds in a cornfield. Charlie, Miss Mackey said, can you think of a sin? I bet leaving your children behind so you can start a new life is a sin. But of course, I wasn't about to add that one to the list, so I just said, no, ma'am. What about kicking and shoving? Audrey said. Then Howard started muttering under his breath next to me, pineapple, pineapple, pineapple. And maybe it was because we were in church, but a miracle happened. I was able to push my temper down and put a lid on it. I smiled and clamped my mouth shut tight so I wouldn't say anything to ruin this miracle moment. And then another miracle floated through the Sunday school window and settled on my shoulder and nudged me to say, I shouldn't have kicked and shoved you like I did, Audrey. I'm sorry. Well, let me tell you, that took the wind right out of her sails. Her eyebrows shot up and her mouth dropped open, and then she said, That's okay. After Sunday school, on our way to the fellowship hall, Howard slapped me on the back and said, Good job, Charlie. I told you that pineapple trick would work. I'd been counting the minutes until the last day of school. When it finally came, I skipped up to the bus stop in Jackie's margarette boots. I didn't care that they were hot and rubbed blisters on my heels. I strutted up the aisle of the bus and winked at those giggling girls like Jackie'd told me to do. Just wink at 'em, she said on the phone one night. That'll throw 'em for a loop, and they won't know what to do. But some of those girls still giggled when I dropped into the seat next to Howard and handed him one of Bertha's banana muffins. Thanks, he said. Then he broke it in half and started picking out the raisins, placing them in a little pile on the seat between us. Wishbone dug up some beans last night, I said. Uh-oh. Howard took a bite of a muffin and made a face. Then he fished a raisin out of his mouth and added it to the pile on the seat. Gus get mad? He asked. Nah. He just said I couldn't let him in the garden anymore. Bertha get mad? I shook my head. She told me a story about her cousin's dog who ate corn right off the stalks in her granddaddy's garden and got so sick he almost died. As the bus made its way down the mountain, I thought about my old school back in Raleigh. It felt like I'd been in Colby forever, and I hadn't heard from a single one of my so-called friends back home, except Carleen Morgan. She had sent me a postcard with a picture of the Capitol building where my class had gone on a field trip. You are lucky you didn't have to go, she had written. It was boring, LOL. Jackie told me she had seen my best friend Alvina at the movies with some girls from her Girl Scout troop. Did she ask about me? I said. No, but I told her you were doing good, Jackie said. Doing good? Ha! How would Jackie know? She was too busy living her perfect life with Carol Lee to think about me. She hardly ever even called anymore. One time when I was in third grade, I went with Scrappy to the cemetery to see where his daddy was buried. We found the moss-covered headstone that read, Albert Eugene Reese. At the top it said gone, but not forgotten. I wasn't even laying under the cold hard ground like Albert, but I was gone and forgotten. Bertha kept telling me I should invite some of my old friends from Raleigh to visit me this summer. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but that sounded like a bad idea to me. What would we do? Watch the squash grow out in the garden? Stare at Pegasus on the porch all night? Where would they sleep? Squished my little bed with me on my Cinderella pillows? No, those Raleigh girls would not have fun here in Colby. When the last bell of the day rang, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. Every day I had counted the minutes until I could get back home to Wishbone. Bertha told me he stood at the door and whined for me when I was gone. That's the truth, she said. Cross my heart and hope to die. On the way up the mountain, I stared out the window while Howard told me about Burl buying motorcycle and his mama being mad at as all get out. Then guess what? I saw three birds perched together up on the telephone line along the side of the road. Three birds on a wire was on my list of things to wish on. But it has to be exactly three birds according to Scrappy's friend Ray. And that's not as easy as it sounds, so I made my wish quick before one of them flew away.